What would you do if you saw three identical little girls at your ex-lover's funeral and realized they might be yours? They have her emerald eyes, her cautious smile, her strength. But here's the twist. She never told him they existed. Why would a woman raise triplets alone, leave behind unsent letters to the father, and carry a secret so heavy it could shatter lives? And when the truth finally surfaces, what if only one child is truly his? This isn't just a story about paternity. It's about legacy, regret, and the kind of love you choose. If this kind of emotional storytelling grips your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. Tell us in the comments, would you want to know the truth, even if it cost you everything? And please share this video with someone who loves dramatic stories about family, redemption, and the power of second chances. The wind off the ocean cut sharper than Grayson Thorne remembered. He stood at the top of the bare cemetery's gravel path, coat collar pulled up, eyes scanning the rows of gravestones that dotted the grey hillside. Avonshore, a place he'd buried with the past, now stirring it back to life. His driver, Thomas, waited silently by the car. "We can leave whenever you're ready, sir." Grayson shook his head once, jaw tight. "No, I'm staying." He hadn't planned to come. The obituary had landed in his inbox like a stone dropped in still water. Camille Hartley, 38, passed away after a battle with leukemia. No mention of children, no surviving partner, just a brief note about her love for literature, her years at Columbia, and her dedication to art history. And yet, here he was, feet sinking into the wet earth, heart heavier than he expected. She had been his once. She had loved him fearlessly, and he had left. Mourners moved like ghosts in the grey morning mist. Umbrellas bobbed, black coats blurred into one another. But Grayson saw them, three girls, standing just beyond the oak tree, near the fence line, identical in height, build, and hair, the color of chestnut bark soaked in rain. They wore mismatched coats, red, blue, and purple. Their eyes, wide and unblinking, were the same shade of green Camille's had been, a shocking emerald that pierced even through fog. They watched him. Grayson blinked. A hallucination, a cruel trick of memory. The girl in red stepped forward, then retreated just as quickly. The three turned and vanished behind the tree. He turned to Thomas. "Did you see that?" "See what, sir?" Grayson didn't answer. The moment clung to him like the cold. Back in Manhattan, the city glittered beneath the glass walls of Grayson's penthouse. But he saw none of it. His whiskey remained untouched. Instead, he stared at the framed photograph on his desk, the only one he'd kept of Camille. Paris, 2013. Her hair had whipped across her face, and she had laughed without fear. He reached for his phone. "Thomas." "Yes, sir." "Those girls, the ones at the cemetery. I need to know who they are." Thomas hesitated only a second. "I'll see what I can find." 2 days later, Thomas arrived at the penthouse with a manila folder. Their names are Ivy, Isla, and Imogen Hartley. 8 years old. They live in Brooklyn with Camille's half-sister, Delilah. Grayson sat down slowly. 8. Thomas nodded. Born May 12th, 9 years ago, next spring. No father listed on the birth certificates. She never told me. Inside the folder were school forms, a photo of the 3 girls at a ballet recital, and a death certificate for Camille. The woman in the photo was thinner, worn, but her smile still shone. She had done it all without him. Grayson stood at the edge of his living room, the city's lights burning like scattered stars. His reflection in the window was a stranger, older, wearier. He whispered into the silence, "They're mine. Aren't they, Camille?" Then aloud to Thomas, "I need to see them again, but not as their father. Not yet. I want to understand who they are and who she raised them to be." Thomas simply nodded. The choice had been made. Not a return to the past, but the beginning of something else. Something that might, just might, heal. Grayson sat in the back of the town car parked half a block from PS 118 in Park Slope, Brooklyn. From this quiet vantage point, he watched as children streamed from the school's double doors, scattering into the arms of waiting parents. But his eyes focused only on three figures walking in. Near perfect unison, Ivy, Isla, and Imogen. They were unmistakable. Ivy, in red, led the way with her chin held high, a small fortress of determination around her. Isla adjusted her oversized glasses and spoke with animated hands while balancing a notebook, her steps exact. Imogen trailed half a pace behind, her purple scarf trailing like a ribbon, fingers brushing the brick wall beside her, sensing more than seeing. "They always walk like that?" Grayson asked from the back seat. Thomas, in the front, glanced at the rear view. "Every day this week." Grayson's stomach tightened. "Like soldiers or shadows." "They're strong," Thomas said, "and careful. They don't talk to strangers. Not even teachers get more than a wave." Grayson nodded slowly. Camille taught them well. Over the next few days, Grayson followed their lives from the edges, his presence invisible, his intentions unresolved. Ballet drop-offs at the modest Parkside studio. Afternoons at a library where Isla buried herself in astronomy books. Grocery runs with their aunt, Delilah, who always looked 5 minutes away from collapsing. Each girl unfolded like a distinct reflection of Camille. Ivy, always alert, placed herself between her sisters and anything unknown. Her voice was direct, her stare defiant. Isla narrated the world like a scientist cataloging patterns in nature. She noticed everything: how many seconds a crosswalk light stayed green, how often a teacher smiled. And Imogen, soft, floating, left chalk, drawings on the sidewalk and whispered songs under her breath. One afternoon, Grayson watched them from across the street at a small park. Ivy knelt to tie Isla's untied shoe. Imogen handed her a dandelion, and Ivy accepted it without comment. A pact passed silently among them. "I wonder what Camille told them," Grayson murmured. "Maybe nothing," Thomas replied. But Grayson wasn't so sure. That evening, Thomas returned with a find. Hospital contact. Nurse who helped care for Camille. She remembered a wooden box, said it was full of letters. Grayson's pulse jumped. "Letters to the girls!" Thomas nodded. "Some addressed to them, some to you, most never mailed. Can we get them?" "Not yet. The box is with Delilah, locked." Grayson rubbed his jaw. "She wouldn't give it to a stranger." Thomas held up a photocopy, one letter found by the nurse before discharge. The handwriting was unmistakable. "My beautiful girls, there will come a day when you'll ask about your father. He was brilliant, restless, and for a time he was mine. I don't know if he ever thought of me after he left, but I thought of him every day I raised you. Not because I missed him, but because you reminded me of what love creates." Grayson folded the letter gently. His eyes burned. The next morning, Charlotte Rios, his assistant, brought an envelope to the penthouse. It came with a bundle from Camille's university colleague. They were clearing her office. Grayson opened it and stopped breathing. Camille stood at the edge of a dance stage, radiant even through the grainy lens. Behind her, the girls in pink tutus beamed. He stared. She took them everywhere. She was proud. Charlotte sat across from him. "You don't have to fix the past, but you do have to decide if you want to be in their future." Grayson looked down at Camille's smile. "I never imagined she'd raise 3 daughters alone." "She didn't," Charlotte said softly. "She raised them together." That night, Grayson made a call. "Delilah, Hartley?" he asked. A pause. "Who's this?" "My name is Grayson Thorne. I knew Camille." Another pause. Then sharp. "She's gone." "I know. I was at the funeral." Silence. "I don't mean to intrude, but I'd like to meet the girls. Just once. I understand if you say no." "You were the one they watched," Delilah said finally. "At the cemetery. They said you looked like a ghost." Grayson swallowed. "Maybe I am." After a long breath, she spoke again. "I'll tell them you're an old friend of their mother's, nothing more. No promises. If they say no, that's the end of it." "Understood." "When?" "This Saturday, Prospect Park. I'll bring Coco." She hung up without another word. Grayson leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. A door had opened, just wide enough to step through. Prospect Park breathed with the hush of early spring, branches just beginning to bud, families meandering along paths under pale skies. Grayson sat alone on a bench near the willow-lined duck pond, two steaming cocoa cups beside him, one for himself and one untouched, waiting. They arrived together, Delilah with a heavy step, the girls fanned out beside her in their signature palette, Ivy in red, Isla in blue, Imogen in purple. They paused when they saw him. "That's him," Ivy whispered, just loud enough. Grayson stood, tucking his hands in his coat pockets. "You must be Ivy, Isla, and Imogen. I was a friend of your mother's." Isla stepped forward first, peering up at him with curious scrutiny. "Did you really know her, or are you just saying that?" Grayson crouched to eye level. "I did, a long time ago, before any of you were born." Imogen's voice was barely audible. "You look like her drawings." That stopped him. "She drew me?" Delilah cleared her throat. "She sketched a lot. But yes, the girls have seen them." Grayson offered the cocoa. None of the girls moved. Finally, Isla took it. "For scientific purposes," she muttered. They walked slowly through the park. Grayson matched their pace, letting the girls speak first. Imogen stuck closest to him, glancing up every few steps but saying little. Isla asked about his job, his city, if he liked cats or dogs. Ivy said nothing for a long while. Then, without looking at him, Ivy asked, "Why are you here?" Grayson exhaled. "Because I wish I'd come sooner." Delilah shot him a glance but didn't interrupt. "We don't need another grown-up who disappears," Ivy said flatly. "I'm not trying to replace anyone," Grayson said gently. "I just want to know you, even just a little." Imogen's fingers brushed his, not a grasp, just a test. Later, seated at a cafe near the park, the girls huddled at one end of the table with crayons and a napkin. Delilah watched with wary curiosity. Grayson sipped coffee, resisting the urge to intervene. Finally, Isla pushed the napkin toward him. "It's our contract," she said solemnly. 5 crayon-written rules. You can be our friend, but not our dad. No disappearing without telling us first. No lying. Not even about little stuff. Don't buy us things to make us like you. If we say go away, you have to go. Grayson read them twice, then nodded. "Deal." Ivy studied him. "You really mean it?" He folded the napkin and tucked it in his coat. "I keep my promises." Outside the cafe, as the wind picked up and Delilah checked her watch, the girls stalled. Ivy bit her lip, hesitant. Isla nudged her. "Just ask." Ivy huffed. "We're having a birthday thing. It's small. Just us and Aunt Dee." Imogen looked hopeful. "You can come if you want." Grayson blinked. "I'd be honored." Delilah gave a cautious nod. "Next Saturday. Don't be late." "Not a chance," Grayson said. The following Saturday, Grayson arrived 5 minutes early, a small box in hand. The brownstone smelled of vanilla and books, balloons hovered in the corners, and a modest cake sat on the counter. The girls opened their gifts, books, art supplies, a stargazing kit. When Grayson gave his, he cleared his throat first. "I had something made for each of you. I hope it's okay." Inside the box were 3 sterling silver lockets, one with a small compass, one with a tiny engraved telescope, one with a delicate paintbrush. Each bore a different inscription. To Ivy, "Your mother's courage lives in you." To Isla, "Her wonder lives in your eyes." To Imogen, "Her heart lives in your hands." Imogen clutched hers tightly. "She said that to me once." "So did she," Isla whispered. Ivy's fingers closed over hers. "How did you know?" Grayson's voice cracked. "I didn't. I just remembered the way she talked about each of you, even when you were tiny." A long pause. Then Ivy spoke. "You can stay for cake." Grayson smiled and stayed. Grayson arrived at the brownstone on a quiet Saturday morning, balancing a paper bag filled with chocolate chips and flour. Delilah opened the door with a skeptical arch of her brow. "You bake?" she asked. "I read the back of a cookie mix box once," he replied. "That count?" Inside, the kitchen buzzed with controlled chaos. Ivy wore an apron far too big. Isla had flour in her hair, and Imogen was humming while stacking measuring cups. "You're late," Ivy said without looking up. "I brought supplies." Grayson offered, setting the bag on the counter. Isla peeked inside. Dark chocolate, respectable choice. Delilah hovered nearby, trying not to interfere, but watching like a hawk. Grayson tied an apron clumsily. "So, what's the process?" Imogen handed him a spoon. "You stir. No clumps." The next hour passed in a blur of laughter, flour clouds, and too much vanilla. As the cookies baked, the girls sat on the floor licking beaters and telling Grayson their favorite memories of Camille. "She used to dance while folding laundry," Isla said. "She let us eat dessert first on our birthdays," Ivy added. Imogen whispered, "She said love was in the little things." Grayson felt something tighten in his chest. He nodded gently. She was right. After the cookies were cooling, Imogen tugged Grayson's sleeve. "Come, we want to show you something." He followed the girls up the narrow stairs to their bedroom. One room divided into 3 distinct zones. Harper's was neat, Isla's stacked with books and diagrams, Imogen's a riot of color and sketches. Imogen opened a wooden keepsake box. "Mom's!" Inside were pressed flowers, ticket stubs, and a small photo of Grayson and Camille, laughing on the steps of Columbia. His breath caught. "She called you her what-if person." Imogen said softly. "What does that mean?" he asked, already knowing. Isla answered, "Like someone you wonder about, who you might have been with if life had been different." Ivy crossed her arms. "She didn't talk about you a lot, but she kept this." Grayson stared at the photo. "She said I would have been a terrible dancer, but I would have tried for her." Imogen smiled. "Then maybe you would have passed the test." By the next weekend, a new ritual had formed. Saturday outings. This week, the girls voted on ice skating. Grayson met them at the rink, bundled in scarves. Harper refused to hold his hand at first, but clung to the railing. Isla tried to calculate the center of balance and nearly toppled twice. Imogen took to it immediately, gliding and spinning. "You're a natural," Grayson said. She grinned. "I like feeling like I'm flying." Later, sipping hot chocolate, the girls laughed at Isla's slow-motion fall and Ivy's dramatic spins. "You're not bad," Ivy admitted. "Coming from you, I'll take that as glowing praise," Grayson replied. Delilah, seated nearby, watched the ease between them with wary acceptance. The next week, Grayson received a text from Delilah. "Girls have a school project. They want your help." At the brownstone, the girls laid out a poster board. "Family Heritage Project," Isla explained. "We need artifacts, photos, stories. We already have stuff from Mum's side," Ivy added, "but nothing from the other side." Grayson nodded slowly. "Scottish. My mother was. She made scones so hard they could be used as weapons." The girls giggled. He brought photo prints, a tartan swatch, and a small framed picture of his childhood home. They glued and labeled with intensity. "Did you know our dad?" Haley asked quietly. Grayson froze. "Not really," he said after a moment, "but I know he missed a lot." Delilah's gaze found his from across the room, a silent warning. The time was coming. Later that evening, as he helped Isla clean up glue and scraps, she said, "You always bring the right stuff." "I just guess," he replied. "Guess right a lot," she said. That night, as he left, Delilah stopped him at the door. "They're starting to wonder. You need to think about how you'll tell them." "I know. You've built something good here, Grayson. Don't let it break when the truth comes out." He looked back toward the stairwell, where 3 voices still echoed in laughter upstairs. "I won't," he whispered. "Not if I can help it." The early afternoon light spilled across the oversized drafting table in Grayson's Manhattan penthouse, catching on the crisp lines and delicate shading of the latest blueprints. 3 bedrooms, 3 styles, each one imagined with a different little girl in mind. Harper's room, structured and symmetrical, had built-in bookshelves, a study nook and window seating. Isla's had a telescope corner and shelves labeled for experiments. Imogen's had soft lighting, a ballet bar, and walls painted lavender. When the girls arrived with Delilah for a surprise visit, Grayson guided them to the table. "What is all this?" Harper asked, crossing her arms. "It's a house," he said. "Or at least, it will be. I thought maybe..." Someday you might want to help design your rooms. Isla was already leaning over the plans. Is this the solar orientation? Imogen pointed. That room gets the sunset. I want that. Harper narrowed her eyes. Why would you do this? Grayson looked up from the blueprint. Because I want
Where you
a
feel
place.
welcome, where you belong.
Delilah said nothing, but he felt the shift. Something unspoken had landed. Later that evening, after the girls had gone to the rooftop garden with Delilah, Harper lingered behind. You said you want us to feel welcome, she said, arms still crossed, but you won't say why. Grayson stood by the windows, watching the wind ripple through the city. I didn't know you existed, Harper, not until recently, and when I found out, I couldn't walk away. You were friends with our mom. You knew her. Why didn't you help before she got sick? Because I didn't know she was sick, or that you three were her daughters. I left a long time ago, Harper. I thought I was making the right choice. I was wrong. She looked at him then, and her voice lost its sharpness. Are you going to leave again? No, he said without hesitation. Not now, not ever. She didn't answer, but she sat on the edge of the couch. The next day, Grayson brought them to a smaller room just off the main hallway of the penthouse. I made something, he said as the girls and Delilah followed him in. Inside, 3 framed photographs of Camille hung on the wall. One with her laughing in a bookstore, one dancing barefoot with a toddler in the backyard, and one quietly painting by the sea. A shelf held books she had loved, and next to it, a shadow box with one of her scarves, her favorite mug, and a pressed flower in glass. This is our memory room, Grayson said. A space to remember your mom, however you want to. Imogen reached up and touched the scarf. It still smells like lavender, she whispered. Isla blinked fast. She loved Jane Austen. Harper said nothing, but she didn't leave the room. Delilah appeared in Grayson's office later that evening, a bundle in her hand. I wasn't going to give you these, she said quietly, but the girls are starting to ask harder questions, and you deserve to know what Camille wrote. She placed the bundle on the Issa desk, a dozen unopened letters, each dated on a birthday. Grayson opened the first. Camille's handwriting flowed across the page, soft and full of aching love. They have your eyes, Gray, all 3 of them, even the ones that aren't yours. I know that sounds impossible, but it's true. They carry something of you somehow. I hope one day you understand why I had to make the choice I did. He read through the night, letter after letter. By dawn, he was in tears. Nearly a year after Camille's funeral, they stood again at her grave. The triplets each held a white rose. The wind stirred their hair. She liked white roses best, Imogen whispered. And Sunday mornings with lemon tea, Isla added. Harper stepped forward and turned to face Grayson. We know, she said. He blinked. Know what? Who you are. We found the letters, the ones with your name. Grayson's breath caught. He looked at Delilah. She nodded. He dropped to one knee, eye level with them. I wanted to tell you, he said, softly. I just didn't want to scare you away. We figured it out, Isla said. We had questions, and you always had the right answers. Imogen stepped forward and hugged him tightly. It's okay, she said into his coat. We still want you. Harper hesitated. Then, slowly, she took his hand, and Grayson knew in that moment that he was finally home. The girls didn't knock anymore. That Saturday morning, the elevator doors opened directly into Grayson's penthouse, and in marched Isla with her backpack, Harper with a book tucked under her arm, and Imogen carrying a new sketch pad. We're sleeping over, Isla declared. Grayson blinked, startled, as Charlotte followed behind with a grocery bag. It was their idea, she said, smiling. We made a list, Harper added, handing him a folded paper titled Rules for First Sleepover. Can I draw on your windows again? Imogen asked. Only if I get to help, Grayson replied. Later that day, the penthouse felt alive. Science experiments took over. The kitchen, pillows were redistributed into a fort, and pizza was eaten on the floor. That night, he tucked them in for the first time. No one said anything profound. Just, night, Grayson, said Harper. See you in the morning, said Isla. Imogen reached for his hand. You remembered the lavender nightlight? He smiled. Always. Weeks passed. Tuesday dinners turned into Thursday pickups from ballet. Saturday outings became routine. They knew the code to his building, their favorite snacks, lived in his pantry. Harper, once silent during rides, now asked for book recommendations. Isla challenged him to riddles, puzzles, and questions like, "Do you believe time travel would change who we are?" Imogen left folded drawings on his desk, some of their new home, others of the four of them, hand in hand. Delilah watched it all cautiously. "You're in deep," she said one night on the brownstone steps. Grayson nodded. "I don't know when it happened, but yes. And if they ever say they need space, then I step back, but I won't walk away." Delilah studied him. "Then you're doing okay." One Friday afternoon, Isla clutched a bright green flyer in her fist. "Family tree project," she announced. "We need a photo." Grayson paused. "A photo of what?" "Our family. It goes on the board. Everyone's bringing theirs in." "We don't have one," Harper said, not sad, just stating a fact. Imogen offered a solution. "Can we take one? Here." That weekend, Charlotte snapped it in the rooftop garden. The girls insisted on standing beside Grayson, not in front of him. Harper in red, Isla in blue, Imogen in purple. When Isla turned in the project, her board read, "Hartley Thorne Family." Delilah saw it pinned to the wall and said nothing, but her eyes glistened. A week later, Delilah appeared at Grayson's door. "No girls, just her." "There was one more," she said, pulling a worn envelope from her coat. "Camille said to give it to you if the girls ever figured it out." Grayson opened it in silence. "Gray, if they know, it means you stayed. It means you earned their hearts, not just their curiosity. There are things I never told you about their beginnings, about the pact I made with a sister who couldn't raise her own. But none of that changes this. You are theirs, in all the ways that matter. Even if only one of them shares your blood, all three carry your soul now. Love isn't biology. It's presence. It's choice. It's the quiet promise you make when no one is watching. Thank you for choosing them. Love, always. Camille." Grayson folded the letter with trembling hands. Spring broke across the city. Grayson walked into the living room to find the girls already camped on the rug in pajamas. Harper had her book, Isla her notepad, Imogen her sketchpad. Each wore the silver locket he had given them months ago. He sat beside them. "Movie night?" Imogen asked. "Sure, but no documentaries," Harper warned. "What about sci-fi?" Isla countered. As the opening credits rolled, Grayson glanced around the room. It no longer felt pristine. A forgotten sock under the couch, a smudge on the window, a drawing taped to the wall. It felt like theirs. Imogen leaned into his side. "You're our home now." He swallowed hard. "And you're mine." Outside, the city shimmered. Inside, a family grew by choice, a quiet miracle unfolding, frame by frame. What if the children who changed your life weren't all yours by blood, but entirely yours by love? The daughters he never knew invites us to reflect on a powerful truth. Sometimes the family that saves us is the one we never expected to find. As Grayson Thorne uncovers hidden letters, unspoken sacrifices, and one stunning revelation that only one of the triplets is biologically his, we're left to ask, does DNA define a father, or is it the choice to stay when it matters most? What do you think makes someone a true parent? Biology or presence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you were moved by this emotional journey of love, loss, and chosen family, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this story with someone who believes that real love isn't about genetics, it's about showing up. For more unforgettable stories like this, hit the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter.